thumbnails for. Actually, I haven't watched any of them yet, so you'll be getting my full reaction on these commercials. Again, ignore my red face. I feel like it's somehow getting redder, and I'm indoors, so that's fine. So let's just get on to reacting to anti-gay commercials. But before the video does start, though, I just want to tell you guys that if y'all subscribe, hit the bell, and comment down below, notification squad shout out. I'm gonna go in the comments down below of this video and find all your comments. I'm gonna follow you. And if y'all did all three again, I will shout y'all in my next video. And if y'all did all three in my last video, I'll shout y'all at the end of this video. So look forward to that. Alright guys, that's all for the intro. I'm gonna start listening to anti-gay memes. Hopefully all these ads turn me straight. That'd be great. Alright, let's start listening. So I just want to come on very quickly to tell you guys that during the whole video, I talk like very softly and very low and I sound kind of depressed. That's just because I had headphones on, and when you have headphones on, you don't really know like how loud you're being or no, and like my mom and my sister were also in the room, so that's why I sound like I'm like kind of depressed. So enjoy the video. Alright guys, so I have a list of anti-gay commercials on my laptop right here. So I'm gonna give you guys a bit of space to be able to watch them as well. Hopefully some of these ads turn to someone watching this straight. That would, you know, give purpose to the ad. Alright guys, so this first ad is called just the ultimate anti-gay marriage ad. So it sounds pretty wild, but let's watch this.
Hi honey. What's wrong?
They're trying to make gay marriage legal.
I don't know how to... Hold up. Okay, first of all, this has only 11,000 dislikes compared...
Hi honey. What's wrong?
They're trying to make gay marriage legal.
I don't know how to... Hold up. Okay, first of all, this has only 11,000 dislikes compared to 2,000 thumbs ups. That's frightening. The girl's reaction to what he said, first of all, that's... I don't know where to start. So when the guy said that, when he was like, gay marriage is legal now, that's the kind of tone in my voice that I have when like I literally want to die. This is frightening. And then the fact that she drops the plate after he says that, is it like that shocking? Like, is it that shocking that now two people that love each other can marry each other? Like, I'm confused. Like, why did she drop a plate? Like, is it... Let's just keep watching. I'm already riled up. Alright, let's keep watching.
Oh my god. What's going to happen to our marriage?
I don't know.
But I don't want to get a divorce or marry a woman.
I know.
So how does letting two people that love each other get married mean you have to divorce your man and have to marry a woman? How does this add up? This commercial wasn't very well planned. Do people actually think that if gay marriage is legal, they need to divorce their straight husbands or wives and get married to someone gay? I'm confused. If it was a law against straight, okay, fair enough. I don't know how that adds up. Well, the acting is very awful. The acting is shit. I've seen a better performance in my YouTube videos, and that's saying a lot.
Why do these gays want to destroy our civilization?
I'm so scared. Mommy? Daddy?
Oh no, the fucking child's coming out. No.
If gay people are allowed to get married, will you still love me?
Who would give a script to a 3-year-old to say that? What is this? There must be a description on this ad. What the fuck? Is this? This can't be real. Oh god. Oh no. What's he gonna say?
Let's just hope it doesn't come to that.
Oh my god.
Help keep straight couples from getting divorced and hating their children.
And hating their children. Yeah, that makes sense. I give birth to a child, get married to a man I love, but now all of a sudden gay marriage is legal. Oh, fuck my child. Fuck this woman. I'm gonna go date a gay guy. Like, not too sure how that's how the world works.
oppose gay marriage. Paid for by the coalition of people whose lives are ruined whenever other people are treated equally.
Okay. I think this one might have been a joke. Okay, that riled me up though. Okay, wait. The ultimate anti-gay marriage? Then why is it titled that? Okay, yeah, to be fair, the YouTube that published it was called Non-Random Nonsense. Okay, that makes sense. Alright, well that was really funny. That got me riled up. Okay, since it is fake, I guess it was funny. But since it most likely is fake, it's gonna go ahead and go on to the next one. I'm just gonna make sure these next two ones are real though and update you guys. I just looked it up and the other two are not from like meme ads or they're not from like any sort of like comedy channel, so these next two ones are real. Sorry about that. That last one just got me riled up. Yo, I'm getting sweaty, hold on. Probably because I'm just like out of shape though. Alright, so the next anti-gay marriage ad is this one. So this one is called Lesson 22, One Man, One Woman. Now I think this is a Jehovah's Witness commercial. I'm not too sure. That's like the description of it, so let's start watching it. Okay, the video hasn't even started yet, but the girl is looking more orange than I am. Also, she is scary, so I really hope she doesn't say any anti-gay shit. Ooh, okay, there's a picture of two women holding hands. She seems confused by it.
Look, Mom. I drew our family in school today.
Can you talk about why the boy has no face? She drew her family and the boy literally has no face. Is he like banned from the family? Did he come out as gay? And she has like no face on because she's like, fuck gays. Maybe. Okay, let's keep going.
Oh, wow. I didn't have time to finish Caleb's face.
Okay, that explains it, never mind. But all that, what I said aside, she just did not have time. She had no time to like draw a fucking smiley. Never mind, she's very lazy. Okay.
Carrie drew two mommies. She told me they're married to each other. My teacher says that all that matters is that people love each other and that
True.
they're happy.
Well, people have their own ideas about what is right and wrong. But what matters is how Jehovah feels. He wants us to be happy, and he knows how we can be happiest. That's why he invented marriage the way he did.
You mean one man and one woman?
Exactly. Look at Genesis 1:27.
The voice behind this girl sounds like those Disney adverts, and the fact that she's saying all this religious, very, Bible-y stuff, is just messing with my head. Really, I'm just picturing, like, fucking Elsa saying this right now, and it's, like, scaring me. No, let's keep watching.
Jehovah created Adam and Eve, male and female. Then in Genesis 2:24, he said that a man will stick to his wife. Later, Jesus said the same thing. Jehovah's standards haven't changed. It's kind of like going on an airplane. What would happen if someone wanted to bring something on the plane that wasn't allowed?
They couldn't go on the trip.
Right. It's the same with Jehovah. He wants us to be his friend and live in paradise forever. But we have to follow his standards to get there.
Is you guys saying that I can go to, I don't know what this is, Jehovah's trip, because I'm gay. Okay, the animation is not bad, which means it was done recently. And they're like talking American, so this is like some sort of ad they played for American children. This is like a proper YouTube channel that's like for Jehovah's Witness. This is like real. This is not fake. There is 8,000 dislikes. Let's keep watching.
At Matthew 7:13 and 14, it talks about the road leading to paradise. To get there, Jehovah says we have to leave some things behind.
Leave your gay boyfriend behind. Leave your bottom behind.
That means anything Jehovah doesn't approve of.
But I want everyone to get to paradise.
So does Jehovah. And you know what? People can change.
Me when I get changed by this advert, but I'm suddenly straight. I suddenly want to eat out. Let's keep watching.
That's why we share his message. So, what can you say to Carrie?
Well, I could tell her about the paradise.
No.
I could tell her about the animals and the resurrection.
That's awesome! Let's practice.
This is real. She just told her 6-year-old daughter to go convince her friend that her family should not be gay. They are playing this to children, so children are watching this. So this advert was made so that children can go tell their friends that if their parents are 2 guys or 2 girls, if y'all want some puppies, y'all can't get it. So if y'all want to get to that heaven with all the pussies and all the cat and all the dogs and all that stuff, you can't be gay. But maybe once you get through, you can be gay with the other guys. Is that how that works? This is uploaded on a very real Jehovah's Witness YouTube channel. That's insane. What are the comments like? Got arrested by TSA for having gay in my bag. You can't carry creams under 100 millimeters. You can't bring any sharp objects. Oh, and you can't bring gays. Is that how that works? Or like, is that just... This video literally ends with, tell Carrie her parents are going to hell. Come on, Carrie, act up. Or you could just leave Carrie alone and let her have her own opinions and beliefs. True. You're pretty much telling other children to tell other children to believe in their religion. We have one last gay advert. This last one really pissed me off, mainly because it was made towards children. So this next one is actually on another YouTube video. God, let's just watch this shit. Ooh, 2 boys are playing. Ooh, they fell. I honestly thought they were gonna kiss. Not gonna lie.
Where's your mommy? Is marriage about what adults demand or what children need?
Okay, I'm glad that last one was short. That's quite shocking as well. So pretty much what that ad was saying was, if your kid falls off a jungle gym onto the ground and hurts himself, since he has 2 dads, they can't take care of him because they're 2 guys. So like, what are they gonna do? Okay, and that one seemed quite recent as well. Seemed also American, so that's shocking to me. That I don't know. Okay, I'm not sure if this is real or not. It did seem somewhat real. The end seemed very real. I don't know where this was posted. I have no clue if this is real or not. But if it is real, again.
Hi, you can call me Robbie. I was thinking of telling you how my parents embarrassed me. Well, not exactly. My folks are great. It's really me who's ashamed. I mean, let me just tell you the story. I am a gamer, and there's nothing wrong with that as far as I'm concerned. Well, almost nothing. I wish I could control my time better, but I can't. When I'm playing video games, I can sometimes do it around the clock. Literally, I'm not kidding. And when a new game's released, I often ignore my schoolwork. Obviously, this affects my performance at school, but usually I end up tying up loose ends and passing my tests and exams anyway. Usually. But, not this time. I failed my test. And this time everything turned out bad. My folks' patience finally snapped. Robbie, either you get yourself together and start studying well, they told me, or we're sending you to live with our relatives in Alaska. If you don't want to be an educated person, then you should start to learn how to use your hands to make a living. Start studying honest and simple physical labor. I honestly contemplated what I could possibly do in Alaska. Cutting trees, fishing on a barge, looking for gold in the rivers. Nothing sounded good to me, but it was not over yet. No more gaming, Robbie. If we find out that you've played your video games again, you're going to Alaska immediately. Well, I gave up my joystick and buried myself in my textbooks. But soon, my homie Jim, who knew nothing about my brilliant lumberjack future, bought a new video game.
Hello?
Hey, is Tone there?
Who is this?
Ray?
You're calling the wrong number.
Pardon me?
Yeah, you've been calling the wrong number.
I'm sorry, who is this?
Perfect for co-op. I tried to abstain, I swear. But as luck would have it, my folks went away for a couple days, leaving me at home alone. I held up for a whole day, but it was beyond my control. So after school, I invited Jim and explained to him that he had to leave before my parents came back. Of course we didn't make it in time. We started playing at dusk and finished well after dawn. My parents were supposed to be home any minute, and we rushed to throw away the empty chip bags and Coke cans. When the key turned in the door lock, we were still trying to put the gaming console in the upper shelf of the cabinet, where we're supposed to rest in peace, while I was serving my punishment. And it totally didn't fit in the cabinet, and it was about to fall out. We had just closed the cabinet door when my folks came into the house. We were sleepy, dishevelled, we all looked awkward. Poker face skills have never been one of my strengths. Jim just sort of muttered, "How do you do?" and left, before all hell broke loose, without even looking at me. I just stayed there, horrified that they'd figure everything out, and immediately drive me to the airport. But no. Mum and Dad quickly looked at each other and went to their room. They whispered something to each other, but I couldn't hear a word. Now, you may think you know what's going on, but I had no clue what they thought when they saw Jim and I. In the evening, they told me that we needed to talk. I prepared myself for the worst, but I never would have expected what lied ahead. "There's nothing wrong with it, son. We love you the way you are," they told me solemnly, and I felt relieved. "You should have told us a long time ago that you were gay." What? I'm gay? Wait a minute. I silently went to my room, feeling like a total flake. Please understand, I do not feel that there's anything wrong with being homosexual, but I'm not gay, and I never would have thought anyone would have thought that about me. During the next few days, I tried to explain to my parents that they were wrong about me, but you know what? They just didn't believe me. My dad patted my shoulder, enthusiastically, saying that I should just come out the closet and accept myself as I am. Mum kept repeating that the most important thing for them was my happiness, that they'll always support me. And they said, almost in unison, that they liked my boyfriend, and that he could come visit any time. Uh-oh, if only Jim could have heard that. Because of the ongoing threat of simple and honest labor in Alaska, I still kept the secret of what Jim and I were really doing that night. However, I tried to make myself clear in some other way. I began to compliment how the starlets looked when we watched movies. Guess what happened? Dad told me that I had excellent taste, and Mum meaningfully suggested that I need to start shooting photos or painting, and to follow that artistic flow inside of me. One day, I tried to introduce my parents to a girl from school that I'd started going out with. After she left, my folks said they were really happy that I'd made a real friend, who's even ready to pretend that she's my girlfriend, but that I didn't really need to go through this masquerade, because they were not at all disappointed in me. Well, what could I say at this point? I was desperate. The only thing that could help me convince my parents that I was only friends with guys and nothing more was the truth. I told myself this: don't be an idiot, Robbie. Alaska's a wonderful place, with incredible nature, and people live there too. So I got myself together and told my parents. That night, Jim and I were just playing just a video game. I'm a gamer. Gamer, not gay. And for the first time, my parents looked doubtful. After that, I took my studies seriously and passed the test that I'd failed before. All of the conversation stopped, but I think that my parents still think I'm gay. They just decided to give me time to admit it and tell them the truth. Huh? They'll have to wait for it for all eternity. Anyway, I'm happy that they love me and would love me any way I was. This really made our relationship closer and warmer, but I wish we had more trust before that. Well, I've told you my story. Now it's time you shared yours. And please subscribe.
Hello, everybody. My name is Liam, and I'm 16 years old. It's no secret how hard it is to deal with your family sometimes. But we all seem to forget that nothing lasts forever. And I'm not exactly a special case. My family is really small now. It's just my father and I. I lost my mom a couple of years ago. My dad was a writer, and like any artistic type, he was a little bit weird. Many people would say he was aggressively old-fashioned. He never accepted any modern technologies like phones, computers, the internet, and he didn't have the slightest idea how to use them. He also typed his stories on a typewriter. When my mother was alive, she managed to keep my dad's weirdness under control. She loved my father to bits, and I couldn't understand why. I was always so ashamed of him and his strange ideas and behavior. And I never read his stories, because I was almost sure that they would sound crazy. And after my mother passed away, everything got really crazy. My dad was broken and miserable. He didn't know how to live his life without my mother. He was absolutely helpless. Our life has turned into complete chaos. I would always find dirty or broken dishes on the floor, piles of garbage, an open fridge, or a tap that he left on when I got home from school. This stuff was not just annoying to clean up, it was becoming really dangerous. I talked to my dad a million times, telling him that he had to find a normal job and be around normal people. And besides, we had to eat. But he would always say, I have written an amazing story. We'll make it this time. You have my word. But it never happened. You see, my father was not really successful as a writer, and my mother had to work for two to manage our family and never complained about it. One day, I came back from school and saw a crowd of people in a fire truck near our house. My father was nervously running back and forth, yelling at the firefighters. It turned out that he had left the stove on, and the neighbors smelled the smoke and called the fire department. Fortunately, there was not much damage, but we didn't have a stove anymore. This was the final straw. I was so angry with my dad that I finally gave him a piece of my mind. I said he was acting like a baby, and it was about time that he'd grow up. I put him in front of the computer, and we started looking for a job for him. There were not many options, though, because my dad had no skills besides typing on a typewriter. It was a nightmare. He kept failing one interview after another, but every time he would give me that guilty look and say, I am so sorry, son. I will try again. I was in despair. One evening, he came back home the happiest I have ever seen him. He said he had gotten a job at the library. It was finally a success. But it was over before I'd even managed to breathe a sigh of relief. I remember my dad sitting in the armchair being out of his mind with anger and telling me that he just wanted to put all the books in the right order because it was a shame to keep books like that. Oh, and he also argued with his boss after he was told he had no right to do that without permission. My dad just looked at me, expecting me to stand up for him, but I didn't even let him finish. I didn't say a word and just left to go to my room. As the weeks went by, I started noticing that my father was becoming more and more strange. He would come into the kitchen and stand there, all confused, trying to remember what he'd gotten up to do, or ask me the same question over and over again. He wore dirty clothes, and his hair grew really long, but he never combed it. At once, I found my dad completely lost in our neighborhood on my way home from school. He was shivering, and when I went up to him, he got scared, like he didn't recognize me, and asked, "Where's Haley? Where's my wife?" That was the moment when I realized there was something absolutely wrong with him. I got really worried. I tried to make him go to the doctor, but he totally refused to go unless he was on his deathbed. There was nobody who could help us, so I had to call my aunt, my father's sister. They were not on good terms with each other since she never thought highly of my dad, but that was my only option. When she arrived at our house, she was shocked to find her brother in the condition he was in. She shoved him into her car, and we went to the clinic immediately. My father took some tests, and it didn't take the doctor long to deliver the tragic news to us. He was in the early stage of Alzheimer's. I was floored. My aunt burst into tears, and my poor father was just sitting there, smiling. He could hardly understand what was even going on. After this, we went through some really tough times. My father was getting worse every day. He had become fully dependent on my aunt and I. He had panic attacks. He would forget where his room was. One day, I brought him his morning coffee, and he asked me, "Who are you, kid?" I felt my eyes fill up with tears. That was the day I lost my father. He never recognized me again. His memory kept fading. He would always ask me, "Where's Haley? Where's my little Liam?" One Sunday, I woke up in my bed because I heard a horrible crash, and then heard my aunt screaming. I rushed into the hallway and saw my father lying on the floor. He fell from the stairs and broke his leg. From that moment on, my aunt insisted that he had to be kept in the hospital, not at home. But I knew my father. Hospitals were his nightmare, and I didn't want him to suffer even more. I would stay by his bed every day after school. He didn't talk much because he thought I was a stranger. It seemed like nothing could bring him back to his senses. But I came up with an idea. I took one of his books from the shelf and started reading it to him out loud. I had never read it before myself, and it was so amazing. He wrote about a young girl with bright eyes, who I immediately recognized as my mother. There was a story about a boy who would spend every day in his treehouse playing pirates. It was actually me. I remembered that treehouse. My father built it for me when I was 5 years old. He was the captain of the pirate ship, and I was his brave deckhand. When I finished the book, I looked up to find my dad smiling, and my face covered in tears. It's been almost a year now. My father doesn't remember who he is or who I am, but he likes it when I read to him out loud. I never managed to say that I was sorry or to tell him that I loved him. He never saw my support, and he will never know that I had read all of his books and that I published them on the internet. I told him, of course, but he didn't understand a word. It's a bit of a hard pill to swallow to realize that I wasted the time I had when my father was able to hear me, and he will never recognize me again. This is a very painful story, and I wouldn't wish it upon anyone. But if you have a...
Mr. Moon, I have Judith for the bag.
No, so I'll call back in the morning.
Okay, she's right here.
Judith! Hello?
I'm for a fact, not a salary. And if your accounts are not settled by the end of the month,
I personally guarantee by the end of this month, this show is going to be the biggest hit this city has ever seen. The Moon Navigator channel has ever watched.
you have to stand. You tell your counsel. We will read the justice properly.
Oh, don't bite my finger. It's not too thin. Hello. Hi. Let's see.
This is going to help me find my purpose in life. I'm trying to have one, but the right one or something? Anyway, you got me on this whole schedule thing.
He's teething.
I know he's teasing. Well, we've been scared of these torches.
He's teething.
I know.
That means that he's biting on everything.
Hello, I'm Jack, and I am a regular guy with a slightly unusual story. There has been a change in my life lately that I would like to tell you about. I was an absolutely normal kid. My life was no different from any others. School, friends, sports, hobbies. Then, something bad happened to me, and I was sure that my life was over. What could it be, you wonder? I lost nearly all of my right arm in an absolutely idiotic way. My dad was mowing the grass. I was passing by, stumbled over something, and fell right under the lawnmower as it was passing by. I don't remember much because I was in shock of pain. There was a lot of screaming. I'm not sure if it was mine or Dad's, and lots of dark red blood like in a splatter movie. Then darkness came. I woke up in the hospital, still in lots of pain, but this time it was bearable. I saw my parents sitting by my side, Mom crying, and Dad pale as hell. That is when I found out that my arm had literally been shredded, and the doctors didn't manage to save it. I didn't realize at the time what it brought to me, and was just glad to be alive. The understanding came a bit later. As they kept me in the hospital, I understood that I could literally do nothing. As I am a right-hander, and as I was very weak, I didn't manage to coordinate with my left hand. But soon I got a rehab doc. She said it was normal, and that I would soon adapt, especially if I followed the adaptation program. She also said that after some time, I would get a prosthetic arm that would make me look normal. I started to train at the hospital and continued at home. Of course, I was away from school for some time, and obviously I had to forget about sports and guitar playing I like so much. Worst thing was that I didn't adapt after all. I couldn't do anything with my left arm, write or dress myself, or even eat with a spoon. I was trying my best, but I felt like an ultimate creep, as the situation didn't improve. So I started falling in a black depression, just gave up at some point, and was just sitting in my room all day long watching TV because it didn't engage arm. My parents had to talk to my doc, and she said that I needed to go back to school to get some social life. I couldn't get my fake arm though. It was too early. I was afraid to go back to my friends, handicapped. Who knows how they'd take it? It was alright after all, even though I couldn't do all the same things I used to together with them. Also due to the fact that my left hand was still useless. I needed to ask for their help all the time. This was pathetic. Even worse was the fact that during my absence, a new girl came to school that I really liked when I saw her. I tried to get out from my shell and ask her at once. If I had been healthy, I maybe could have chances. But now she just looked at me with sympathy, grinned, and answered, "You know, Jack, I think it's not the case. Well, you understand." And just left me standing there, like a complete idiot. It didn't make me feel much better. And all in all, it was a super down moment of my life. I was just so passively trying to get accustomed to my new condition. Also, time came for a prosthetic arm to be installed, but as far as I was still unable to be operational using my left hand, it was of little comfort. I was reading about those bionic arms that naturally substitute a missing arm with all of its movements. One of these would be a perfect solution in my case, but my family isn't very rich, and if I tried very hard, I would be able to buy it in many years. So this was just a dream, and I put it off. I will have to adapt to what I have now. At least I'm alive, I repeated. A couple of days before I was supposed to order my fake arm, I came home from school and found a surprise party for me. With all my relatives, friends, and even neighbors. I didn't understand a thing. My B-day was in 4 months. When they explained to me, I just sat down astonished and couldn't say a word. I couldn't believe it. My family raised the money from everyone who knew me. And I would be getting a new bionic arm. I will become a cyborg. For God's sake, that day was definitely the happiest in my life. I couldn't stop thanking God, universe, or whoever else for all of those people who surround me. When I came to school with my new bionic arm, I became a star at once. I had already trained myself pretty well and was able to do the finest movements with it. I was surrounded by my schoolmates who were just asking me to show another time how it works. Each of them had donated his pocket money to make me happy. I got a new nickname that was the Terminator. Cool, isn't it? As a cherry on the cake, there came that girl that I had liked so much, who asked me, "Is your proposal still valid? Would you like to go out and show me how this thing works?" I'm a proud person, and that is why my answer was, "I think that's not the case. Well, you understand." Now as a Terminator, I know that there is no sense to give up, as far as you love people around you who wish you happy. And to those who like you only when you're cool, I can say only, hasta la vista, baby. It was a traumatic experience, and I'm glad that I could.
Emily, can we set up my PlayStation?
My name is Brad,
that I brought?
and I'm HIV positive. I wouldn't even dream of saying this phrase out loud several years ago. It all started when I was 16. I played for my school volleyball team. We were supposed to have a medical checkup each year, before starting our training. I was called to our school doc for a confidential talk. I'll never forget that moment. I remember literally unable to understand anything I was told, except the phrase, "You've tested HIV positive." I felt like I was falling down from a very high building. This is definitely a mistake, I thought. But it wasn't. The worst part of it, if there could be a worst part, is that I have literally no idea where I could have got it. I don't belong to any risk group, nor does my family. I thought it over and over for hours. But then I gave up. I finally decided that it was irrelevant. I don't remember much of what I did for the next weeks. When I talked to my new doctor who was responsible for my therapy, I remember she was smiling, and I was so angry at her.
Yeah, sorry that
Definitely HIV negative, I thought. I should have listened to her more attentively, because she was explaining some really important stuff. All I understood was that I was supposed to take a bunch of pills to prolong my miserable life for a couple of years. And then there was that talk with my parents. I love them, but they've always been so distant from me. This time they were kind to me, but in their eyes I saw some kind of disappointment. Deep in my heart, I knew that they thought HIV only happened to bad people. I didn't hope for any support from them. I was scared to go out from my home, because I was frightened, both of being bullied and of infecting someone else. I knew that you can't infect anyone from HIV just by sneezing on them, and that my HIV status was confidential. Believe me, at such moments you become very irrational. So I locked myself alone in my room, coming out very rarely to visit school from time to time, and I gave up my volleyball training completely. Sometimes my parents came to me, tried to start a conversation, but I already knew what they were thinking about me, so I had no desire to talk. I was so lonely, living my life between my TV and my computer. I felt like sitting alone in an empty room, with its walls slowly moving towards the center, to crush me alive. After about a month of my voluntary imprisonment, Coach Stevens came to me to find out why I gave up volleyball training. He thought I was ill, and came to ask if I needed any help. I thought I would never reveal that I was HIV positive to anyone, but at that point I was so strung up by the silence that I actually shouted out, "I'm HIV positive, okay? I'm about to die, so leave me in peace." He looked at me seriously and said, "No need to yell. Do you know, I've been HIV positive for 16 years already." His words were like a bucket of cold water. The idea that there could be other HIV positive people never occurred to me. I asked him to tell me more. He told me about
Hi, I'm Susie. I hated my daughter for so long. Now, before you judge me and call me all sorts of names for being a bad mother and all of that, I'd like you to hear my story. Typical story of boy meets girl and they fall in love. Nothing special. James and I graduated from college with good grades, but getting jobs became an exhausting task. I worked as a waitress to earn some money, while James was hunting for a real job. "Everything is going to be fine, sweetie," I usually said with tears in my eyes, which I quickly blinked away. We went to bed hungry most nights. There were some times I stole food from the cafe just so we'd have something to eat. I was caught one day and given a strict warning. A short time after, I found out I was pregnant, and I wept like a baby. We were barely surviving, and now we were about to add another mouth to feed, and all the difficulties that came with having a baby. "Everything's going to be fine," James consoled me, even though he felt like crying himself. I won't bore you with the details of my pregnancy. Suffice it to say that getting pregnant was the worst mistake of my life. James changed after I gave birth. He started to neglect me and do everything I hated and get angry when our daughter cried. But no, that wasn't when I started hating my daughter. James became a stranger and started getting phone calls from women. When I confronted him, he finally said that he's seeing someone else and doesn't want me anymore. I couldn't believe he'd do that after all we'd been through together. I was devastated as I watched him leave the house without even asking for forgiveness or begging for a second chance. That was about 13 years ago. It was very hard for me bringing up my daughter alone without a good job, but I managed just fine. Even if I went to bed hungry, I made sure Nora's stomach was filled. I was there for every school play, recital, ballet, bake sale, and so much more. James was nowhere to be found. A few years ago, I won the lottery and was finally able to start my own business and earn a great amount of money monthly. It felt like life was finally rewarding me after all the hard obstacles I faced. But what did my daughter do? When she was 10 years old, she found a picture in between the pages of an old novel. A picture of James and I holding her when she was still a baby. She came asking, and I shut her down. Had I known, I should have told her James was dead. After all, he was dead to me. 4 months ago, I discovered that Nora had been communicating with her father for the past 3 years. She took that photograph and went investigating with the help of her friends and found him. I can't tell you how betrayed I felt. After everything I did for her, we had a major fight when she wanted to spend the summer with him. How dare you do this to me? How dare you go and meet that man who abandoned you? You ungrateful child. After all I sacrificed for you. I screamed like a banshee. Mom, please stop. My 13-year-old daughter shouted as she stuffed clothes into her bag. Why should I? It's because he's rich, isn't he? But I earn a lot of money now as well. And I did everything I could to make you happy. I was so mad at her, I yelled at the top of my voice. Yes, James later got his dream job. With tears in her eyes, she said, "Oh, Mom, how can you say that?" She left the house with me still shouting at her. That was the beginning of so many quarrels. I felt betrayal so strong, it was bordering on hatred. I told her everything I went through in the hands of her father, but she still went ahead to have a relationship with him. It got to a point, Nora and I no longer spoke to each other. Now you know why I can't stand her. It might seem petty to you, but I can't describe the hurt I feel. I hope you understand why I feel so betrayed. But what happened later might shock you even more. A month ago, James died of cancer, which I feel karma slapped him with. Nora was so inconsolable, but I couldn't feel pity for the man who not only broke my heart, but stole my daughter as well. Wicked of me, right? I'm sorry, but that's the way I felt. That day, Nora walked into the room in a plain black dress, looking like her father died. Well, he did. Her eyes were puffy from weeping, and I wished with all my heart that she'd be this sorrowful when I died. She walked to where I was calmly seated and threw a letter in my face. "What's this?" I asked. "It's a letter from Dad to you." "Get it away from me," I snapped.
Wait, can we
"Read it, for goodness sake," she yelled and rushed out of the room. After staring at the letter for a moment, I opened it resentfully and read it. What I read was not what I expected from James. "My dear Susie, the only woman I ever loved. This letter will come as a surprise to you, but I feel I have to explain things so that you can stop hating me, even in death. I'm so sorry for ruining your life. When you told me you were pregnant, it was bittersweet news to me. I was happy the woman I loved was pregnant with my child, but I knew what it would do to you, as things were very difficult for us then. But what you didn't know then was that I was diagnosed with cancer. I couldn't tell you and ruin that amazing moment for us. I know that what I did was wrong, but I didn't have any idea what I should do. So I pretended to be with someone else and started to treat you badly just so you would leave. I didn't want you and our daughter to go with me through this horrible journey of fighting cancer. I'm so sorry, my love. I died the day I left you, but I thought it was for the best. I sent you money through your boss every opportunity I got and made him call it a raise. You didn't win the lottery, my love. I sent you that money immediately after I made my first $1 million. And I'm happy you used it to set up your dream business, which has made you live in comfort with our daughter ever since. I beat cancer a while before that, but I was told the chances are high that I would become sick again, so I couldn't risk it. I wanted to love you from afar, but I couldn't die before meeting Nora. When she found me that day, I couldn't help but take her into my life. She's a wonderful daughter thanks to you. I'm glad you found happiness without me. I'm so sorry for everything. Please, find it in your heart to forgive me. I love you. Tears ran down my eyes in waves. Nora came into the living room, stared at me with pity in her eyes, and sat down to draw me into her arms. We cried together. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I wept pitifully. It's okay, Mom. You didn't know. He explained everything to me when we met for the first time, but he told me to keep it from you. I had to respect his wishes. He was afraid you'd get back together, and then he dies and leaves you in tears. But I convinced him to write everything in this letter. That moment, my daughter and I connected again. I regretted all the time I spent hating her and her father. Maybe it's too late now, and I can never tell James how I feel. I want to punch him in the face for doing this to me, but also to hug him and kiss him and forget all the pain. It's too late. But it is not too late to love our daughter, the fruit of our love, forever.
Yeah. You spit my chin.
Sometimes we'd have days where he would just yell and punish me and my sister whenever we did the littlest thing wrong. I'll give you a vivid example. Once we were spending Halloween with my dad. We had been working on making our costumes for an entire day and had gotten really hungry. There was almost nothing in the fridge, and my sister Annie decided she wanted to order a pizza. She asked Dad if that was okay, but he said no for no actual reason. He suggested that we cook something on our own, but we didn't want to, and we were really in the mood for pizza, especially since it was a holiday. Dad went crazy. He yelled at us and locked us in our room with no actual dinner, and of course with no trick-or-treating. So we stayed hungry and totally upset until the next day. Since then, neither I nor Annie were big fans of Halloween any longer. Dad was not always that bad, but since Annie is 5 years older than me, she would be punished more often. At some point, when she got big enough, she said that she wanted to live with my mom permanently and no longer visit our dad. But I couldn't do the same, and I probably didn't want to.
Hi guys, I'm Lucinda, and here's the photo of me and my best friends ever, Laura and Caroline. Do you see how happy we are? This picture was taken about 6 months ago. And since then, we've never been that happy together anymore. And here's why. Laura, Caroline, and I have known each other since forever. We used to spend a lot of time together and had always been more like family than friends. From the moment all three of us entered middle school, like years ago, it had become evident that we had started to differ a lot from each other. I'd gotten interested in athletics, so I joined the school's track team and started prepping for marathons on an annual basis. But my friends have never been into sports at all. They'd rather talk about celebrity gossip and current movies and their film directors who love eating cheeseburgers, or join another book club or something like that. We've never had problems with our different interests at all. But a few months ago, I suddenly got the feeling that Laura and Caroline were no longer as close to me as they used to be. Sometimes there were even times when I'd call my besties to ask them to go out somewhere, but they declined. It seemed like they were trying to avoid me. I even tried to ask them directly about what was happening, but they only said that they had to get prepared for a school project that they were working on together, and they had too much to handle. Then Saturday came. Saturday was a day that we used to spend together, from morning till night. It was our tradition to go shopping, take a walk in the park, and watch whatever was playing at the movies. And then late at night, we would cook something special for ourselves as usual, eat it in front of another black and white movie, and then have a sleepover at one of our houses. That night, it was Laura's turn to have us over. We were having such a good time all day long, and I had even forgotten about my thoughts I had about the strange things happening between us. We had made an almost perfect creamy soup and baked some zucchini muffins for dinner. Yep, it was my idea of encouraging healthy eating for my friends. Everything was so perfect. It literally felt like it did when the three of us had a pajama party for the first time. Then we decided that I would be the first to go upstairs and take a shower, while Laura and Caroline would clean up the kitchen. When I entered Laura's room, I noticed her laptop with the screen turned on. I got closer so I could switch it off, but an open message on Facebook suddenly grabbed my attention. It was a conversation between Laura and Caroline about me. Just so you understand, I never ever read someone else's private messages or whatever, but the stuff written in this message and in the next one just made me want to keep reading. It was really shocking in a bad way. My friends, my girls who I thought were closer than sisters to me and who always showed their love to me, were mocking me in their e-conversation. They wrote that I was annoying with all my talking about running and proper nutrition, and that I had become boring to hang out with, and that the two of them had a better time together than the three of us. And, there was plenty of this stuff in there. I couldn't believe my eyes. I thought they had to work on a school project, but it became evident that they were just talking about me behind my back. Neither of them happened to be courageous enough to tell me how bad it was to be friends with me straight to my face. Even though I felt offended and betrayed, I didn't say anything to them that night. But I kept thinking and rethinking about the whole situation. I figured out that revenge would be the only thing that could satisfy me. Since the three of us had been together for a good chunk of our lives, many interesting things had happened to us, some of which were definitely embarrassing. For example, Laura has always been afraid of insects, like almost to death. She can never even stand a ladybug landing on her hand. And Caroline had recently fallen in love with a young teaching assistant. She had even photoshopped a couple of their separate photos together so they looked like a loving couple. She kept those photos in her diary. Of course, these were the most secret things from my friends' lives, and nobody else knew about them. But for me, knowing that information, it was easy to come up with a revenge plan. Luckily, the perfect day was about to arrive, Valentine's Day. I had created 2 presents for my friends, making sure they wouldn't find out who made them until the very end. When V-Day came, Laura found a beautiful box in her locker. At first, she was really excited about the present, thinking that it was from some secret admirer. But when she opened it, a flock of butterflies flew out right at her face. Jesus, she was screaming so loud and running so fast that she managed to escape the hall, leaving virtually the whole school laughing at her. I'd never seen her run that fast. She could have even beaten me in my marathon. Of course, I made no sign that I had anything to do with this event. And then Caroline's turn for revenge came in the form of a couple of emails I'd sent to her teaching assistant and crush on Caroline's behalf. 115, actually, saying how much she loved him and attaching a few photos from her diary. To make sure everyone knew about this secret, I decorated the classroom with some valentines that were devoted to that teaching assistant. And some photos too, of course. I guess there's no need to tell you that this Valentine's Day went down in school history, or that my friends finally realized who had done all of this. To be honest, I was both happy to get revenge and sorry that my friends got really embarrassed. We had a talk later that day. It was then that I told them that I had seen their chat about me. I said I couldn't believe they were that mean to their best friend. and they said the same. We were obviously not that different from one another if we'd managed to offend each other that badly. The three of us apologized for our behavior, but none of us actually excused each other. For now, we are still pretending to be friends in front of our moms so we don't disappoint them. But in reality, I doubt we could ever become as close as we used to be before. Now please give this video a like in case you've ever happened to offend your best friends or gotten offended by them yourself. And don't forget to tell us how you managed to cope with everything in the comments below. I really need some advice here.
Did you just take my village?
Yep. I'm the coin master. I'm the coin master. Build your village.
Sorry, I just don't want to hear you game. Singer. Get the phone on it. It's a prize. It's $100,000. I know it's late, but I could really use some extra piano lessons.
Yeah.
You got chocolate milk, Punky, in your sippy. Wherever it went. Almost done. I'll pull it up.
Are you sure this is legal? I don't know. But if you keep asking questions, we'll never get this done.
Yeah. Oh, you stop, Tommy Butt. And you stop. No, kitty. Let me turn on the cord.
Rosita, have you seen my card? Rosita? Miss Crawley.
Sorry, Mr. Moon would like everyone to meet backstage before she arrives. When you set it up, free, 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 set it up, free.
Wow. You it's fantastic. You've got to sing that today. Mike, you're on first. Go. Just a second. Honey, I'm busy. I can't hear you. Rosita and Gunther. You're on after Mike. You got it. Rosita. Super cool. My tongue come back. Okay. Johnny, you follow then. Oh, yeah.
Beautiful, My Little Pony, and she's white, purple hair, well, like circles, but she's purple, her cutie mark, not like Kaya,
Paper crown in a heart made of glass, a tattered gown in a kingdom of ash. She was. I'm a little crazy underneath this, underneath this. Do you ever feel like a misfit? Everything inside you is dark and twisted. Oh, it's okay to be different, 'cause baby, so am I. Do you ever feel like an outcast? You don't have to fit into the format. Oh, it's okay to be different, 'cause baby, so am I.
Give you hundreds of dollars if you let me win.
Wonderful. Honey, the show is done. All right, I can't talk now. I gotta go. Of course, I love you. You think I'd buy you diamond earrings if I didn't? Okay. Listen. I just maybe kind of spent it all, you know? Wait. I'll get you money. I'll get you $100,000.
Then why aren't you going to get that guy the money?
Moon! Okay? Moon's got my money.
All creatures great and small. Behold, the very first stage lit entirely by Squid Power.
Just go. I don't even care.
try again? Yeah, I am. I'm afraid that this me right here, this is who I am. This is my lot for life, and I'm not the guy my dad wanted me to be. Bye-bye, What did I say?
Well, you know, don't let fear stop you from doing the thing you love.
That's just stupid.
No, it's not.
But you really believe that you're going to be a singer?
Yeah, maybe.
Well, then you're just as big a fool as I am. Look, you and me, we're both afraid for good reason. Because deep down we know. Somehow it takes.
Ice cream, ice cream. Ice cream, should I pick? Did you know that
Buster.
I was playing with the
Hey. Wait, where'd you go? You okay?
What did you see? And then you say, I want ice cream. And then you say, I want strawberry. And then she just gives it to him, and then he just gobbles it all up.
Spring Speedo? Oh, yeah.
Ice cream, ice cream, ice cream, ice cream. You want ice cream?
Only other job I know.
And now you say, I want
Gotta go to work. I'll see you around. think you ought to know how proud I am to be a part of this group. You must be.
It's Morgs.
Kara. I'm Morgs Mom.
And you guys should definitely come play Coin Man.
In 3 days, X-Men's greatest enemy come from within. She'll kill
want to share my story with you. I hope that my story will help give you some motivation, so you can find the strength to get out of tough situations, particularly if you're suffering from obesity. When I was a kid, I was just the same as everyone else.